Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Psychic Stories. This is Lisa Campion, and I'm so glad to be here with you. Um, in this episode, we're joined by Melinda Grubbs. She is a psychic medium and author who had a really profound spiritual awakening that redefined her entire life. It was a life-changing experience that came out of the blue, that helped her connect with spirits, with the spirit of her friend's loved one. It happened in the middle of a restaurant. And I know she's going to tell us the story, but it helped her uncover this natural gift for mediumship that she never thought she could have or was even possible for her. And I think her story is a testament to the belief that psychic abilities are just natural for all of us, that our healing our inner world is sort of the key to unlocking our psychic ability. So she's going to talk about her spiritual awakening, her unexpected dive into mediumship, and how she came to write this book, Mediumship is Easy, which is a beautiful guide to help other people who experience their psychic awakening and maybe a little bit later in their life. So get ready for this incredibly inspiring conversation about embracing your intuition, overcoming fear, and stepping into your psychic power. Welcome to the show, Melinda.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so good. So tell us a little bit about this experience that you had. Like, what happened that opened you up to your psychic gifts?
So in 2014, my father was killed by someone, and it changed my entire life. He was walking my daughter to what I believe was to have lunch. We're not quite sure, but he was in the desert away from the street and the curb. He was completely in the desert pushing my daughter. And there was a woman who was late for work and didn't want to wait at a red light. So she drove her car into the desert and killed my father. His last act was actually to push my daughter out of the way and saved her. But of
Wow.
course, the way he died and the mannerism in which it happened, like completely changed my world. It was very dark for a long time. It was very hard to continue functioning. But I
Mm.
remember the day that he died after everything had started to settle and we left the hospital and everything that had happened. I said a silent prayer to him in my mind. I said, now, and of course, I didn't know how to be psychic or how to be a medium. I was just kind of following, I guess, my intuition at the time. And I said, Daddy, if you can hear me, leave me signs, and I will always know that they're from you. And within about 10 seconds of that, a van drove by with the huge word dad in red letters, and it was dad's bail bonds. And I thought, okay. And again, at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. I thought that was a coincidence. And I thought,
Mm.
okay, he heard me. I'm going to take that. It feels a little weird. Ever since that day, though, I see hearts everywhere I go, everywhere, even my friends. When I went to Europe this past April, my mom and I saw hearts all over. They're all over the street. And when I see them, I get this feeling inside of my body that I know it's from my dad. And I even have lots of my friends who grew up with us who call my dad their dad, and they'll find hearts in the sky, in the clouds, on the ground, in rocks, and they'll take a picture and say, "Hey, your dad's here with me." So even my friends and family are feeling it too.
Mm.
But I think that little prayer that I said to him inside of my head is what started me on this journey. I had asked to say, please always stay close to me. Please communicate with me. Please find a way, and I will know it's you. And I think that really set the intention for me going forward. So my dad was killed in 2014. And from there, I just really started to focus inward and healing myself, healing my life, working on forgiving the person that did this to him. And it really opened up something inside of me where I felt different. And in 2019, I was going out to a restaurant with one of my friends, and I'm very introverted. I like to stay home. And so when my friend asked me, I was like, "Oh, no, I don't want to." And he was really insistent, which he normally wasn't. And I kind of had this push, like I knew I was supposed to go there. So I ended up going. And as I walk inside, there are hearts all over the ground, everywhere. But I didn't feel what I normally felt. And I'm like, okay, Dad, are these from you? What's going on? I didn't have that feeling, but they were everywhere. So my friend and I end up being in the restaurant for 2 hours. We're having a wonderful time. And everybody asked me this. No, I was not drinking. I had no alcohol. I don't like to drink. We were there for about 2 hours and nothing happened. I didn't feel anything. We had an amazing time. And when we get up to leave, the second we walk outside and I see the hearts again, I feel this energy slam into me. I feel completely different. I get dizzy. It's almost like the world stopped. And I'm like, something's happening here. But I didn't know what I was doing. I always thought you had to be born as a medium and
Yeah.
have those gifts since childhood. I never thought I could never put two and two together ever in my wildest dreams. So my friend helps me get to the car and I put my hand out to open and I could not fathom how to open the car door. It's like my mind turned off. And
Mm,
it's literally you just pull the handle, but my mind could not figure it out. And I'm like, I feel like I'm supposed to go back inside this restaurant. And my friend's like, okay, let's go back inside. Let's figure this out. As soon as we stepped inside, you get that want. I don't know if you've ever gotten it, like that feeling where everything else around you is gone and only you are standing there. And it's almost like there's a haze around everything. And I locked eyes with the waitress that we had the entire night, and nothing had ever happened the whole time we were there. And as soon as I saw her, the world came back, all the sounds came back. I felt like I was back in my body. And I'm like, I think we have to go talk to this waitress. And thank God it actually ended up being my friend's friend. Otherwise, it probably would have been a lot worse. And as soon as we walked up to her, I said, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure why we're here, but I feel so called to come talk to you. I immediately felt a woman standing right here. And I looked and there was nobody there. And I thought, what is happening? Of course, I've never had a psychic experience ever until this moment, and I didn't know what to do. And I said to her, I feel like I'm supposed to talk to you about your mom. It just came out of my mouth.
wow.
And this woman right here was her mom. And I said, I don't know what's happening or what I'm doing, but do you mind if I just tell you what's happening? I feel like I'm supposed to. And luckily she was so open, she was so nice. She said, "Yeah, I would love that." And I was getting like a burst of information. I would get her name and it started with an M, and that was right. She said that was correct. I got how she died. That was correct. She was telling me things that had happened to, I call her Nicole, the waitress. If you read my book, her name's Nicole in the book. I call her Nicole. Nicole was like, "Yeah, that's accurate." She was telling me things about Nicole's life that my friend didn't even know. And it just happened so fast. It just came in bursts of information. And then I got this overwhelming feeling of love and connection and joy. I don't know how to express like the most love you've ever felt in your life, something you
Mm.
can't experience. And I just like tears are in my eyes and I'm saying to her, I'm just getting this overwhelming sense of love and pride and admiration. And as soon as I said that, I felt that energy leave. And I'm looking around and I'm like, what just happened to me? So we end up going outside, me and my friend and the waitress. And as soon as we step outside, another woman stands next to me. And I thought, there's nobody there. It's happening again. And again, it was for Nicole and it was her grandmother. And everything I said was right. And her grandmother says to me, those hearts on the ground are from us, but she doesn't pay attention to them. And it clicked for me as to why I didn't feel anything because I knew they weren't from my dad. And again, I'm giving her all this information. Everything is correct. And then I get that feeling again of just overwhelming love. I tell her that I feel this, and then her grandmother stepped away. And I couldn't sleep for probably 4 days because I was scared of spirits coming to the edge of my bed after that.
That's legit. That's legit.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Wow, what an incredible story. So do you feel like, and I see this happen a lot with people whose psychic ability really opens, do you feel it was kind of like the experience of your dad passing away that opened the door? Because a lot of times it's like a near-death experience. You have a near-death experience, which is what happened to me, or somebody around you dies, which is also what happened to me. Like, um, and that kind of opens the door between life and death for us. Do you think that's what it was for you that opened that?
100%. My father was everything in the world to me, my best friend. We did everything together. Like I said earlier, all of my friends knew him as dad. Like we were
Mm,
so close. And when that happened, it completely changed my whole world. Everything about my life became different. And I started searching for ways to be able to talk to him. I remember writing letters that obviously I couldn't send anywhere, talking
right.
to my dad. And I really think that experience with my dad is what changed my ability to be able to step into that intuitiveness that we've always had, to be able to connect to that aspect of it.
All right. So cool. I love that. Do you think your dad is part of the communication that you have with other spirits? Is he like helping them along?
I think he is for me. Of course, I feel and see my dad all the time. He's always there. I have such a funny story to tell. So my dad and I rode motorcycles. He was on his, I'm on mine. So of course you can't talk to each other unless you have those special pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And there's signals that a bike will give to another bike to say something. So when you do this on the top of your helmet, it means, hey, there's a police officer. So probably 3 or 4 years after my dad had passed away, I'm on the freeway here in town and he pops into my mind and he does this. And I thought, okay, I made that up. My mind just put that there, but I slowed down anyway. And I'm not kidding you. 2 bridges up, there was a police officer up there doing radar. My
Wow.
dad's everywhere all the time. I always feel him. I always see him. He's always there.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, my experience is so similar. Like my um twin brother died in utero, you know? So
Hmm.
I got my psychic experiences because you know how twinsies are like
Yeah.
connected mind to mind, and then he left. He went over and I was born literally born psychic. I was one of those born psychic people.
Hmm.
But I used to talk to him. He was like my imaginary friend when I was little, and my mom would be like, "Who are you talking to, Lisa?" And I was like, "I'm talking to my dead brother William." I was 4 years old when I said that, and I'll never forget it. She had this like glass of iced tea in her hand, and she dropped
Hmm.
it, and she ran screaming
Right.
like out of the room, right? And so my psychic abilities came in. Then he was my guide. Like he was the one that would be like, there's a spirit here that needs to talk to you, or an angel, or a dead person.
Hmm.
He was always sort of my crossroad guide. The guides that
Right.
stand um in the crossroads to help us with mediumship skills.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
definitely
so
think my
cool.
dad is.
Your dad's doing that. I think so too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so you wrote this book, and I know you see clients that you do mediumship clients, and you teach other people how to handle their mediumship. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you do, in that you work a lot with, like, one of the focuses of your book is working with people who are maybe a little older when you
Yes.
know, a psychic comes in, because it can be so sudden. I see it with also people who have done, like, maybe you did some plant medicine, or maybe
Yeah.
like you did yoga teacher training and spent hours meditating, or all these
Yeah.
things we can do that kind of like bing give you that
Pop you
sudden psychic,
open.
yeah, suddenly. And it's really can be quite disorienting and scary for
Yes.
people when that happens, right?
Yes. I was definitely scared the first time it happened to me, like not knowing what was happening. But I look back on that moment so much in my journey. I look back at that moment in the restaurant and I know that was my dad, my spirit guide, spirit source leading me there to bring me to where I'm at right now. I was
Yeah.
meant to be here to help and to teach. And I see that moment now, even though it was really scary, I see it as the catalyst that I needed in order to be on the right path.
Yeah, me too. I feel like that same thing happened to me. And I know my contract with my brother was that he decided to come in with me and leave right away.
Right.
Half of it was so I didn't have to come in by myself. He's like, I'll drop in there with you, but I'm not staying, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then that gave me my life purpose, that I've been
Right.
really like living my whole life. So that's so cool. So let's say someone's listening, watching this, and they are in the middle of that. Like their psychic is opening. What do they do?
So that is actually my specialty. I specialize in helping people who are coming into their psychic gifts later in life, especially those that never believed that you could, and now all of
Yeah.
a sudden it's here. One of the first things that really helped me and that I teach my students is to go within. There's nothing to be afraid of, and to really go within and look at healing those limiting beliefs, doing inner child healing work. One of the things that really helped me in the beginning was meditating and really just sitting with the energy to understand what was happening. And that's what I teach a lot of my students to do, is really go inward and focus on your heart and why things are being called to you now, and understanding that there's nothing to be afraid of, and that this is a very natural thing that we all have always had inside of us. It's just coming out later in life.
Right. I think, people are really scared.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of fear. I think it doesn't usually end well for this poor psychic in the paranormal
Yeah.
movie, the horror movies, does it? you know?
No, I agree. No.
So we're like, oh my God, every ghost I see is really going to be a demon. It's like the Evil Dead, like we have this kind of that fear that comes, or
That's what
maybe
I was afraid of.
like religious programming too, that sometimes we have to unwind. And what do you think we can do to help us like let go of our fears?
Really, it's about stepping into it and not running from it. When it first happened to me, I was so afraid of it. And I was so afraid to open it because, like you said, the psychics in the movies or what you read about or see on television makes it scary or makes it to where it's strange or weird. And it makes it so you're afraid. I think if we jump into it and allow, instead of pulling back and being afraid, that's going to change how you feel about all of it. I
Mm,
remember the first night I came home, I couldn't sleep. I had to have the TV on downstairs and upstairs. I had all the lights on in every room of my house because I was so afraid. And then I started doing the meditations and going inward and feeling what my heart was telling me about it, not what the outside world was telling me to believe. And that's
mm,
what really started to expand my gifts, is stepping into it instead of running and being afraid.
yeah. Yeah, such great advice. So you wrote this amazing book called Mediumship is Easy. And
Yes.
writing a book is not easy, but mediumship is
No.
easy. So
Yes.
let's talk about your book a little bit.
Okay, I would love to. So I wrote this book, Mediumship is Easy. I really started writing this book because I wanted to process through the grief of losing my dad. So there's a whole chapter in here about how my journey started, about my dad. You're going to read like funny quirks about my dad after he passed away that happened. I really started writing it as a way to heal myself and to move on. And then as the years progressed and I started learning more, I would be in these Facebook groups or other groups online where other people were having similar experiences, and I kept giving them advice. And I had someone say to me, "You need to teach how to do this."
Mm,
And so I really started looking into that and moving into a teaching space. And once I started doing the teaching and getting all these questions, so many questions from people, I thought, I'm gonna write this book to help people answer all of these questions. And a lot of people have the same questions over and over again.
yeah,
So it's really about my journey and how it started later in life. It's about how, if your journey is starting later in life, it's okay. I teach you how to still be a mom, how to still be a dad, how to still go to work and have time for yourself and expand your gifts and really allow it to just unfold the way it needs to instead of being afraid of it.
I love that. It's so good normalizing it. And,
Yes.
I think that's super important. And I think skill building too is really important, like
Yeah.
getting the skills that we need to do that. So,
There's so many skills in here. And my skills don't just focus on the mechanics of mediumship. I wrote this book for my skills to focus on how do you start from not knowing or having any abilities at all, and then growing them gradually to where you can expand yourself. So I
mm,
really tried to focus on the person who has zero experience whatsoever can still learn how to become a medium. And the
yeah,
title Mediumship is Easy, is really spread throughout the book. It all ties back together. And when you'll read, I like to be funny like my dad. We like to joke around and it all kind of just ties back together. So the book is fun and quirky, but also serious and really helpful.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a great book. I really enjoyed it. And I love that you're just super open-hearted and honest and, you know, sharing your experiences and your stories with your dad. So,
Thank
and I
you.
know you do mediumship sessions, right? So
Yes.
you're available
Yes.
for that. So tell us a little bit about what that's like.
So I love to do mediumship. It's the heart and soul of what I do. It's what brought me into this world. I love to sit down with my clients and really first talk about what they expect out of the session and really help them focus inward and connect to themselves because they are the conduit. I'm just here to pass the message, but your team, your family, your friends, your spirit guides, they're with you. They're connected to you. So when you open your heart and you heal and you expand your life, you are helping me connect to them, but you're also learning and helping yourself connect to them as well. So I really focus on my clients expanding their heart, expanding themselves, and really allowing their friends and family to connect with me through their heart.
Yeah, and I think everyone should have a session with you. I think you're an incredible medium, and
Thank you.
there there are people who do it right, and then there are people who I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're you know have the best ethics or the best training. And
Right.
I know you, Melinda, have just incredible, not only incredible skill, but also beautiful boundaries and ethics, and you're
Thank you.
really doing all that stuff right too. So how do people get in touch with you if they want to book a session or read your book?
So my books are on Amazon. You can look up my name, Melinda Grubbs, Grubbs. I love my last name. I my whole life, everybody made fun of my last name, Grubby or Grubbs. I've heard everything. And I remember the first time I saw my name printed on my book, it was the most
Mm,
exciting feeling I've ever felt in my life. And
yeah,
so, yes, it's on Amazon. You can look up my book on Amazon. My website is soulcareintuitive.com. I have all kinds of services that I offer, a lot of healing services, psychic and mediumship services as well.
great. Thanks. Do you have any little, we can sort of finish off our conversation today, any little stories or vignettes you want to share about a session that you did with somebody that really made a difference for them?
I've actually had many sessions like that. I think they all, in their own way, make a difference. I do remember a session where I was connecting with a mom. She had lost her son, and her son had come through, and he was also a twin. He did not, like your brother, he came in with his brother, but he wasn't born. He left before. And
Mm,
so his twin was still alive, and I remember I connected to him and I kept saying, he's showing me a mirror. He's like, I look like that. I look like that. And she made the connection about the twin, but he was able to tell me things that his brother was doing or thinking or saying. And the mom felt him right there. She says, I've never felt him around me. And now that you're saying all this, I can look back and he's always been here. And that moment touched me more than anything, being able to have her feel that and realize that he had always been there with her the whole time. I really enjoyed that moment. There's one more that I'll share. I was connecting with a woman and we were doing it over Zoom because at the time there was COVID. We couldn't do it in person. And she
mm,
had her camera off. And she says to me, I don't want you to see anything about me or my background. And, I want you to just pick up on whatever you get. And I connected to this child, and everything was so clear and accurate and amazing. And she's like, yes, that was like the most amazing reading. But can I tell you something? And I said, well, of course. The baby hadn't been born yet. He was still in her belly. She was pregnant with him. And he was
wow.
telling me things that were happening to her in her life. He was telling me what he wanted his name to be. And she says, I have heard that name over and over and over again. It was another like reading where I was like, I can't believe how connected we all are. The
Mm,
baby wasn't even born yet. And he was able to give her this amazing reading.
wow, amazing. I love that story. That's so cool. Wow, gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your gifts with us on this podcast, and also with your gifts with the world, with your clients and everyone who's reading
Thank
your
you.
But I so appreciate your work and the impact that you're making in the world. So thank you so much, Melinda.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. It's just been such an honor knowing you and being on the podcast.
Yeah. And thanks all of you guys for tuning in to Psychic Stories. I know you don't want to miss a single world. So reach right over and hit that subscribe button. And so you can make sure that you catch all the incredible things we're talking about here on Psychic Stories. So we will see you the next time around.